It's crazy to think that it's been over 2 years since I saw an MCU film in an actual cinema. That was like back in 2019 when I saw Spider-Man Far From Home. That's bonkers. I mean, I know we've had like WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Loki to fill the void in the meantime, but gosh darn it, it's good to MCU again. It's time to talk about Black Widow. Black Widow is directed by Cate Shorthand and is the long awaited solo outing for the Black Widow character that we have been waiting for. And I'm not just talking about because of the pandemic delays, I'm just talking in general, because Black Widow, played by Scarlett Johansson, has been a main staple of the MCU pretty much since the beginning. She was an original Avenger, she's been in 8 other Marvel movies, and it took 24 movies in total before Kevin Feige and the people at Marvel thought, alright, now's the time that we're going to give Black Widow her own solo movie. But was what we got after all that time worth it? I'm a little disappointed to say that I actually had mixed feelings on Black Widow. I couldn't help shake the feeling that the movie came too little too late. Black Widow supposedly kicks off Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. However, it's set during Phase 3, just after the events of Captain America Civil War, when she broke the Sokovia Accords. Now she's on the run, but when a conspiracy arises with ties to Natasha's past, she has to team up with her former Russian pseudo-family to try and stop it. I was personally hoping that because we knew the fate of Natasha at the end of Endgame, that this being a prequel movie would help texturize her character a bit more and answer at least some of the questions that we had about her mysterious past. They do touch upon things like her red ledger, particularly one individual that Natasha was responsible for the death of, and there is this mission to try and find the Red Room that we've heard so much about in previous MCU movies. But overall, this film didn't really add much to Black Widow as a character. The narrative of this film, quite frankly, feels inconsequential. Regrettably, this is just a filler MCU film. The only thing that it really provides for us in terms of the timeline is giving us a point of introduction to Florence Pugh's character, Yelena. So yeah, while this is Black Widow's movie, it doesn't really feel like the Black Widow movie that the character deserves. But what I will say this film gets right is the character dynamics of Natasha's Russian family. I absolutely loved Florence Pugh as Yelena. She was wonderful to watch, a great new addition to the MCU. Can't wait to see where they take her character. That's a good thing to remind you. Do stay for the end credits, okay guys? There's a great post-credit sequence. But also, Florence Pugh had a really nice, effortless, sisterly chemistry with Scarlett Johansson. So their scenes together, I really cherished. Like, they're just constantly butting heads and bickering like sisters would. And like, Elena's giving Natasha flack about the way that she poses during fight modes. That stuff really made me laugh hard. Like, Florence Pugh is really funny in this. She's just a very well-rounded character. I also really liked David Harbour as Alexei, who's also known as Red Guardian. He's this big, brooding type of fatherly figure. And he was a lot of fun as well. He got some great dialogue. He had some really funny bits. He brought a lot of humour to this film. But I did feel his character overall was a little bit shortchanged because he doesn't really get that standout moment, you know, whether it be an action moment, a hero moment, or an emotional moment. He doesn't get that one moment which is like, oh, this is what he signed on for. He deserved a little bit more than what he got. And Rachel Weisz is also good as Melina. She gets a little bit less screen time than everyone else, so she does feel the least developed of the 4 of them. But she's still good. But I will say it is Florence Pugh and David Harbour who steal this film, even from Scarlett Johansson herself. Her character feels like she almost takes a bit of a back seat in her own film, which is not a good sign when the film is supposed to be your film. Collectively, the 4 main characters had a nice family chemistry. There was an odd occasion where someone's accent missed the mark, but not to the point where it bothered me that much. But in the end, it is that family dynamic which provides the heart of this film. The action sequences in this film have their moments where it's really fun, but they do kind of feel like they've been lifted from Captain America Winter Soldier, particularly the car chase scene and also a scene where something's falling from the sky like a helicarrier, so it's just like, oh, it's a less impressive version of something we've already seen done before. Apart from that scene where Natasha is free falling from the sky, that was something I hadn't really seen done before in the MCU, and that was really fun, but it didn't last long enough. And also, because we know the fate of Natasha in Avengers Endgame, there was no sense of danger or jeopardy. Like, we knew she was going to be fine no matter what happens in this film, so there was no stakes. Like, we never fretted for Natasha's safety in this film. As far as the villains go in this film, forgettable. Taskmaster is essentially a robot. I mean, it is a human underneath all that armor, but they might as well be a robot because they have no personality. And that's because the script doesn't allow for one. The character has essentially zero dialogue. So it was a bit disappointing, really, because we didn't really get to know them as a character, what makes them tick. There was potential with this character, because you've got this super soldier that can mimic an opponent's every move. There was definitely some cool potential there, but the character never felt fully realized. They're just some brainwashed killer who doesn't talk. Kind of like Deadpool in Wolverine Origins, but somehow even more boring. You've also got Ray Winstone as Rakoff, who was a real meh villain. One of the most bland, generic baddies we've ever had in the MCU. I'm gonna forget his name after I've recorded this review. Also, the film tries to be topical, but doesn't have the gumption to talk about any of the serious topics that it addresses with, well, any seriousness. A scene involving a discussion about forced hysterectomies is played for laughs, which on one hand is a good thing because it's making us have a conversation about a difficult topic, but on the other hand, you can't help but feel it cheapens the seriousness of such a horrific topic like genital mutilation, which is something which still occurs in the world to this day. The film wants to say something important about women and women's struggles, but never really follows through on anything. And I think that's because this is a Marvel film, and they wanted to make money, and they have to make it accessible to all audiences, and they don't want to cross a line which is considered too far, so they take a serious topic and play it for laughs. So let's ask them 3 questions. Firstly, would I watch this again? Yes, it's not one of my favourite Marvel movies, but I would definitely watch it again. Question 2, do I recommend it for you guys? Yes, even though I did think it was a little disappointing, it's still a well-made spy/action movie. It's just a shame the film doesn't feel all that necessary. In the grand scheme of the MCU timeline, it's not that important. It does feel like a filler type film. I can't help but think that if this film had been released during Phase 3, like when it's set, would it have been more effective? But still, there are some great new characters introduced to the MCU, there's serviceable action, and there was a surprising amount of humour in this film as well. I did laugh a fair bit. But yeah, fun was had in the cinema, and for all MCU fans, it is a must, so yes, I do recommend it. And question number 3, what score do I give it out of 10? At the end of the day, I still enjoyed the film, even though it didn't answer all the questions that I had. Like, I still want to see how Natasha meets Hawkeye for the first time, as well as her and Nick Fury and how she gets involved in S.H.I.E.L.D. Still don't know anything about that. But yeah, the film itself, I had a good time with it. Not a great one, but it was still, you know, a fun summer blockbuster. So I'm going to give Black Widow a score of 6.5 out of 10. But as always, guys, it's just one bloke's opinion. Love to hear your thoughts on Black Widow. Where does it rank for you in your MCU rankings? Is it top tier, middle tier, bottom? Whatever you have to say, let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up button. If you want more movie, TV, and Oscars-related content, don't forget to click subscribe. Make sure to check out all my other MCU coverage. I'll put a link to that playlist here. And if you want to follow me on any of my socials, all those links in that video description down below. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. For more things related to movies, TV, and popcorn culture, I'm Luke Carefield, and I'll see you next time.